Out in 5:31. Let's call to order the Water Sewer Commission meeting. That's not water. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, it's good to see everybody. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Good to be back. All right, so we'll just go right down the chain, and we have some minutes.
I have a minute. I want to make a motion to approve the November 12th, 2022 minutes of the Board of the Water and Sewer Commissioners as presented.
I would second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we will move on to new business. 399 Old Colony Road.
Yeah, so I know Brooke had sent you guys
Mhm.
some information on this. The gist of it that I got is, the water has been shut off inside the building, not outside, but inside the building, since June, and
So what building is this? Is this the old Fisherman's? That's not Fisherman's, it's not.
yeah,
that's
I
three-
couldn't be sure of that,
Okay.
but that's a building we have had issues with previously.
Okay, yeah.
So I
that's
would
what
say
thought.
that
Those
maybe.
five that he owns.
I think so, yeah. And I'm not sure which building of that area it
Okay,
is,
yeah.
but, so the water's been shut off inside the building. We can't get, we can't get a reading on it. And, he is asking for an abatement of his estimated bill because he's saying he should have a minimum bill because the water is shut off inside the house, inside the building. So that is
Minimum or zero?
well, a minimum is the minimum bill is 4 units.
Right.
That's as low as it can go. So, even if you don't use a drop of water, you still get a minimum
Right.
bill
Yeah.
quarterly. So
Is that what he's facing with? Is that what he's trying to abate?
he's trying to get down to that.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what his consumption is.
Okay, so we've been estimating them all this time, because we haven't had access. All right.
Well, no, we had an actual read.
Okay.
We had an actual read in September.
What?
We had an actual meter reading in September.
Okay.
And then we estimated it and couldn't get a reading this past December.
Okay.
So,
So it's shut off in the building or at the curb?
it's at the building because we didn't have any record of it being off, so it has to be in the building.
So how do we know when it was shut off, other than what he's telling us?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. June of 24 is what he said.
So what's the convention? What have we done with that?
This is not really a common request of an abatement. I mean, I guess it's a matter of taking the person at their word. I mean, he also didn't respond to we leave cards at places we can't get reads from, and I don't think he responded to that card until he got a bill in the mail. So, I mean, if you take him at his word, I can understand what he's talking about. He should have, to have it more of a concrete, clear thing, it would have been better for him to have the water shut off by us at the curb.
and took an actual read.
Yeah. I mean, it says here that the meter is actually outside in a pit, which is uncommon down there, but that's what it says. We're not sure why we couldn't get a read. So, it says the meter is at the exterior of the building, so I'm not sure why this could not be read. So,
So they did get a reading in September
yes,
and couldn't in December.
And that was the last actual read, September, correct?
that's what it says. Yep. There's also, so if it,
So why don't we just get an actual read now?
Yeah, no, I
And just have him- and just have him pay the
Yeah,
difference.
if this is correct and it's a meter pit, then, and we can get an actual read, then that's something we can do. And the dispute is, within 30 days, so we can, you can, I guess you could either, abate it pending what the actual reading is, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
I agree with that, that's fair.
Do we wanna do that, or do we wanna, since you disputed it within 30 days, if we kicked it to the next month's meeting, can we still honor that? Without having to pay anything right now?
You can, I mean, his account would get interest, but the interest could always be waived, by you guys, I mean, the due date's by the end of this month, but if we wait till next month, either way, it could be, the interest can be abated.
I agree with that.
So we can do that also.
So he has multiple buildings there?
If it's the property I'm thinking of, yeah,
It's
it's,
just one in question.
yes, it's one unit, or, yeah, so I think he has maybe three buildings with multiple units in them. That's the one I'm thinking of.
So we need to make a motion to continue it to next month?
Pending,
So we
yeah,
can
pending the
officially
actual,
go-
Yeah,
Cause it'll be past the 30 days at that point, but.
yes.
pending the actual read.
See, address 399.
399 Old Colony Road.
Okay, so, I'll make a motion to continue the issue of 399 Old Colony Road until the February meeting, pending a, physical read of the meter.
Yeah, I think it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is an abatement of, a, charge to T-Mobile for having a antenna on the Zero Cottage Street tank.
Yeah, I remember this.
Basically, it seems like they decided not to renew their contract and it just kind of slipped through the cracks. So they were assessed a charge, but they didn't want to renew their contract, so they're asking us to abate the charge, which, there's a,
Actually given any money, we've just been billing. for the time.
yeah, correct. And there's I believe Brooke included the actual
Yeah,
form that they asked for the non-renewal. It's here somewhere. I printed off a copy if it's not in here.
So we don't own any money.
We don't owe them any money, we're
Right.
just
You need this,
waiving their, which one's that?
the T-Mobile.
Yeah, okay, it should say, it should say non-renewal,
Notice of
correct?
non-renewal.
Yeah, notice of non-renewal.
It looks right. So we're abating an amount or? are we
Yep,
waiving
so-
an amount?
So it says, I request that the boards
Yeah.
abate, $36,656.21 on account 9013 due to T-Mobile, formerly known as Metro PCS, not renewing their lease at site ID B0S0656.
Looks in order to England, this thing.
I just got a question, does that infrastructure stay up there? Do they just abandon it and leave it, or are they required to
It,
move anything when they?
I think it can be both ways. I don't know for sure what this one is. I don't know if it's been taken down or not.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll, yeah, it can be reused by another company.
Well, that's good, I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it's taken down. They're in and out of there all the time. And sometimes they have multiple ones, so it could, T-Mobile could own several antennas and just
Yeah.
have decided not to renew that one. If Metro PCS had one on there, T-Mobile bought them, T-Mobile already has an antenna, they can just decide to do that.
You guys see?
Yeah.
All right, then I will make a motion to abate $36,656.20 on account number 9013 due to T-Mobile, formerly known as Metro PCS, not renewing their lease at site ID BOS 0656.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next would be this other one that I had just passed to you guys.
Yep.
Seems pretty cut and dry. Resident didn't find a leak in her house, but found she had left a hose on in her backyard. It had frozen and burst. And she didn't say so in this letter, but she had said in an email to me asking if the sewer portion of the bill can be abated. So, I would say and I looked at her previous usage the last few quarters and it's low. So it's not like she's usually using 25 units of water and asking for a minimum sewer bill. So I would,
And she's only asking for the sewer to be abated.
yeah,
And she's
Right.
saying she did have a leak,
Right.
so it's not anything.
Right.
We've done this many times, I think.
Yeah, correct.
Do we have any numbers, or are we just gonna,
I would just say to abate the sewer portion of the bill to a minimum sewer bill.
okay, then I will make a motion to abate the sewer portion of the 31 Alder Road bill, to the normal sewer.
Second.
All in favor?
Next for old business, we have 1 Hastings Way. I was not actually here when this had been brought up to you guys before. From what I gather, the resident had a high reading. The board decided to abate the sewer portion of their bill, and because he feels that it's a faulty reading, he wants the water abated as well. I'm not really, I can't really, I'm not 100% sure why the sewer portion was abated. I wasn't here, but it seems like he doesn't know where the water went. So to me, anything he did get abated off his bill, he was fortunate to have abated because there's no
we've
proof the
already-
water didn't go down the
We
sewer.
already addressed that. And I believe he was offered to have the meter.
He was, and he didn't want the meter tested, and now the meter
And
is
then it was
gone.
replaced, and now it's gone.
So, but he was offered previously, so that's kind of,
I'm abstaining from this discussion.
I'm gonna motion to take no further action on 1 Hastings Way.
I agree, I just, we talked in detail about this before.
Yeah.
We can't test the meter, because we don't have the meter anymore. That was available to him to do. And we already abated the sewer to try to help out, and I don't remember even, like you said, I don't remember. Was this a leak in his house initially?
He claims it's no leak.
Yeah, he claims it was no.
There's no leak. But I thought our staff found something. But I could be thinking it's another one.
that may have been another, I can't remember if that was another one in Red
Yeah,
Mill
I
or
recall.
not.
Oh, is this in Red Mill? Okay, yep, understood.
I just remember going through it and deciding, like always, since the water went through the meter, abate the sewer, but we have to assume there was a leak somewhere and give them the option to test. which is
Yeah, I
fine.
mean, it's always, with that bill, there's always a probability that someone was out watering their plants or whatnot, and that water doesn't go in the sewer, so that could have been it. It doesn't seem like he feels there was any reason that water was used, but meters don't just move on their own, so.
And if they do decide to test it, they pay for it, but then if it comes back faulty, they get reimbursed that, right? That's how it works. Okay.
Correct.
Was sure the meter was faulty, then I think he would have said, yeah.
Correct.
Yep, I agree, we don't know. That no further action began
Yeah,
as
I
well.
will take no further action on 1 Hastings Way.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Superintendent updates.
Do we have another one? Miss Edgewater, Brad?
Oh, I must have missed.
Oh, there was one more, yeah, that's right. 17 Edgewater, is that right?
The 450,
Oh, yes, the late charges, the interest, correct. Yeah, the residents said they always pay their bill directly on time. Said they didn't get a bill and were charged interest, and they're asking to have, I believe it's $4.50 of interest.
Did the bill get sent out?
That's it. I would be shocked if it didn't. I mean, a mailing company takes care of it, so, I mean, things sometimes get lost in the mail, so.
Did they eventually get the bill, or they just never received it?
They say they never received it,
Yeah.
and then their next bill, they had
They
their
charged-
two bills in one, basically.
I don't know, for someone who diligently pays their bill, you would think that you would be on it, and, you know, if you didn't get it, you, after a month or so, probably wonder why you didn't get your bill.
So I'll ask the question again, does this ever happen before? Every board meeting?
Yeah,
We
it
had,
does.
we had someone come in here with, saying they didn't get his bill.
Yeah, except that one he wanted,
That
was a totally
no, I know it's a different
different
scenario.
request, yeah.
Well, this particular request has ever happened before, that you can recall, or anybody can recall?
Yeah, it has. I'm not sure, you know, from what I could see, the track record was they do pay their bill on time. A lot of times you have people asking for it that don't necessarily do that.
So it's probably not worth a debate, and we should just do it.
I don't disagree.
I actually agree with that too.
You don't think it's gonna set a precedent?
No.
No, I think we
But
still,
that
we
doesn't
still,
happen very
still have to,
often.
yeah.
It's not worth it, not worth it spending another second.
I mean, each instance is, we're gonna have to take, at the face value and look at the circumstances. But it looks like
And it even
this
says in
amount
their
of-
request that, you know, I know it's not gonna break the bank, but it seems like a matter of principle. I can understand that.
I'll make a motion then to abate the interest charge of $4.50 for 17 Edgewater Drive for not receiving a bill.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Not at all. All right, Speedy.
All right. So, TTHM, public notice postcards were sent out last week. I'm sure everyone in town got them. Steve, like you had said, I'm sure you're getting tons of questions about it. The actual result from our last quarter testing was below the TTHM limit. I believe it was 76 and some change. But because we had two previous higher readings in the past calendar year, it put our annual average at 83, which is above the 80. So the most recent actual result was below the 80 parts per billion, but the yearly average was higher. And I know I've told you this many times before, Steve, water age isn't an issue at Red Mill Village. You know, it's more of old water on the other side of town is where we see our highest results.
Basically,
Yeah.
trying to portray that if this is happening with literally across town, but nobody believes it.
Right.
It's hard to get farther away, actually.
Are you still having problems, at, Richardson Ave, site? Is that
That's
the one?
that's the one that
That's the one
exceeded,
that's-
yeah. But like I said, it was below this past
Good.
quarter, but it's, you know, we're still waiting on you know, we have to get our aerator project online and you know, maybe look at some source water chemistry and see where we go from there. But it's a very limited area of town that is dealing with it.
If you look at if you don't know, you know where Richardson is? You know
Yeah,
where?
very well.
You're in town,
Yeah, we
you're
know.
actually, yeah, it's way over here.
Yeah.
I put it on my map
I still
Yeah.
know Richardson.
Yep.
to portray how.
Literally can't get farther from the wells
What's the one
anywhere in
thing, Steve?
town.
No, I know.
So that's, you know, we actually haven't had a ton of calls about it, not good, let's say that way. You know, I do my best to educate people. At this point, the majority of times online, if someone doesn't know about it by now, they are choosing not to learn the facts, so.
So what I'm doing is, I did not present this at my trustees meeting today, but we have a newsletter at Red Mill that is gonna be in that newsletter and I'll be.
Beautiful.
But I'll let you know.
That's one of,
Proactive.
yeah,
Proactive,
exactly,
reactive.
exactly. That's one of three, DEP, deadlines I had to meet last week. The next I had, our lead and copper samples were all collected. We actually only reached 57. Again, I had redone the sampling plan, hoping to get to 60. We only had 45 over the summer, and we did get to 57, but we didn't get to 60. With the new lead service line inventory, for lack of a better word, backlash probably isn't the best word, but interest. I'd say more people would be interested in doing it. They're not tier 1 sites; they're all like tier 3 sites. But at least we can get bottles.
Right.
So the tier 1 sites have all been exhausted. They've all been on the list at some point. So that's where we are. We met our 90th percentile, no problem. Even if the last 3 samples had all failed, we still would have met our 90th percentile number. We only had one residential sample exceed, for lead, and none exceeded for copper. So that all went relatively smoothly.
Karen, what's the reaction to the rest of your clients regarding this inventory and controversy, if any, or people just going crazy over it?
I think it's been mixed bag. I mean, you're going to find some residents that are very concerned, and some people don't understand any of the. You have your standardized letter. That's kind of a complicated situation to read and understand. The majority of the folks are not actually don't have lead services. It's just any unknown. If you don't have records, you had to send out a notification.
Right.
So the next steps are trying to get into the homes, get more information.
I found that
There's several years till you have to be in fully compliant.
And I found that the biggest issue is people not reading the letter completely.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would say 60 to 70% of the calls are, I got a call saying I have lead in my water. And I said,
Well,
well,
I kept on hearing that.
so, I feel, once we really got to talk to people about it, it was, the majority of people were understanding and willing to be cooperative. And some people just don't really care. I mean, for all the calls we got, there's still 3,000 people in town that didn't call us. So yeah, we also had to send out our manganese post. We've been sending it out quarterly. Well one, the sample rate from the source exceeds for manganese. It's not really indicative of the water that's going into the taps all over town. Blended system, all our other sources are well below the manganese limit. So, I know some people in that area near well one still occasionally are dealing with some discoloration, and we know that can be frustrating. Haven't had a lot of calls about it, so that's good. But the number still requires us to post quarterly in the paper, and I know that that's something DEP's told us eventually we're going to have to address, but we have other things on the docket first before we get to that. So, I know you guys are probably aware we've had a very busy, 6 months, but a very busy month when it comes to leaks and such. We had three in the past month. Actually, surprisingly, they were all not big malfunctions. One, the corner of Hill Street and South Washington Street. The contractor who did the job 10, 15 years ago left a chlorination tap live under the ground. So that finally let go and wasn't shut off at the corp. So we dug down and took care of that. Island Road, we have a yard hydrant for our sewer station. I don't know if you guys know where Island Road is. It's on the reservoir, and it's all the way down dead end at the water. And the yard hydrant saddle actually had corroded off the main. So they had to, it was a big leak because it was pretty decent sized hole in the main, but it wasn't a break. It was just something that needed to be repaired as far as the saddle goes. And the last one was a similar situation on North Washington Street, kind of near between Newcomb Street and Cobb Street, and a coupling had come. You know, I wasn't on the dig, but it was a different type of service. Our foreman was telling me, and he said a coupling had come loose underground. So it was actually a lot of water because there was a drain that was clogged. So it made it look like it was a lot worse than it was because there was water all over the place. But they were able to get it off and fixed, and we were actually without just really bad timing. We were without a machine operator, and Dylan Ribeiro came in and helped us and did a great job. Brought his machine, went very well. Really, real shout out to him. He helped us out in a tight spot. So, you know, we had two operators on vacation, one sick as a dog, so it was just really bad timing.
Yeah.
So, you know, as far as malfunctions go and digs go, it could have all been a lot worse. You know, not a ton of water was lost in any of them.
Did we ever send out like a thank you note in that case for the guy who stepped up? I know he.
I mean, we thanked him I thanked him personally after the fact. You know, and I made sure I told him to make sure to submit he works with us a lot, and he wasn't really concerned about getting paid, but you know, anyone getting out of bed at 11 o'clock at night deserves to get paid. So, filling station update, the yard hydrant at the filling station. So right now the filling station itself through the filter is not on because it kept freezing. I reached out to a contact of mine at National Grid. Unsurprisingly, they weren't helpful at all at getting temporary power, so they want me to go through the whole process of getting basically a new electric account, which I haven't had time to do.
They want to drop a whole new meter in there.
Yeah, you know, a line with a temporary electric service there. That's what we need because there's no way to heat the inside of the building. You know, building is a loose word, watershed. So we do have the yard hydrant that was feeding the watershed on during the day for residents to use if they want. It's still coming right out of the treatment plant. It's, you know, the best water we have in town.
Is it being used regularly?
It is. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So, you know, the pressure is, you know, the yard hydrant's under a lot of pressure. You know, I mean, you open it up and it comes fast and furious. So, you know, it's not the easiest thing to use. You know, we had a gentleman the other day actually slip and fall while he was there. It seemed, from what I understand, he was having something else going on when that happened. I didn't really get any details, but it didn't seem like, from what I understood, he was taken, the ambulance came, but I think I think he had something else happening at the same time he was there. I did order, you know, a kind of a restaurant drainage mat to put at the to try to mitigate as much of the slipperiness as possible. But anyone who's going out there, please be careful. You know, if it doesn't look safe, please let us know. We can get by and try to, you know, because during the day, you know, you're trying to fill up a bottle, it's under a lot of pressure, water splashes on the ground, and then if it's 20 degrees out like it is right now, it'll freeze. Last night we had the capital request meeting, discussed an Explorer to replace actually the superintendent truck. We're gonna bump that down into the fleet and get rid of an old truck we have, because getting a truck right now is just really expensive. They're out of control money. So we figured a better solution is to get a cheaper vehicle for Frank to drive and use his truck. It's a Ram 1500. It's got a nice tonneau cover, hard tonneau cover, and have that be used as a work vehicle. So, and that would get split between both departments cost-wise. I think the quote we got was just over $47,000.
Does he need a truck? Can he get by with something?
I think
smaller,
he can get by with
efficient?
this, you know, I
Okay.
mean, it'll have enough things for him.
Like a smart car?
He's allowed to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Frank.
Yeah, so they listened to that, and we also asked for, $100,000 for, meter and radio read box replacements. I know you guys know we've had, like 300 meters on red this past quarter. Really putting a strain on our meter budget. We're tapped out as far as water.
Well, hold on. What's, I know you probably discussed this, but what's going on with that? What's wrong with,
So
is the system or the meter?
no, I think it's a combination of meters and meter read boxes. You know, I mean, there was a town-wide meter replacement in 2000, I believe, maybe 2001. You know, and read boxes are only supposed to last for 10 years. You know, it's been 25. Most of them are still working okay, but we've heard that other towns are starting to lose a little bit of the time in chunks like that also. I thought it was kind of more of a system thing at first. I'm like, it's just odd that they would all go like this at the same time, but
These are the battery ERCs you're talking about?
yeah, the ones mounted on the outside of the building.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're asking for money specifically just for that we can either replace meters or read boxes as need be, to not use up our line item in our budget, because we just, you know, we already just maxed out how much we could use for our water budget. And I had our foreman go back and look at all of the meters that have been replaced this year that are servicing water and sewer accounts, like joint accounts at a house. And anyone like that, we asked for money in the sewer budget to cover those, because they're counting their sewer bill as well as their water bill. So
What do we use, Neptune meters?
yeah.
Do the new meters you replace today, they don't have the read box outside, right? It's all.
No, yeah, the read box is right on the head of the
Built
meter.
in, yeah.
Yep. And they work good. You know, I mean, I don't have a real complaint about how the meters have worked. I mean, they're, you know, I've pulled meters out of houses like from 1984. You know, I mean, you know, they still work pretty darn well as far as the years you get out of them, but it seems like they're starting to kind of fall off.
What did you ask for last night, just to reiterate?
100,000 to use as a project to be able to basically exceed the 50,000 that we're, you know, supposed to spend with a company, you know, mass procurement law. You know, you still have to get the procurement, but it's not coming out of a budget, a line item in our budget. It'll be a capital expense project. And
This capital budget is for the spring town meeting?
yes. Yep.
Okay. So it begs the question, what about our area?
So I told them about it. So as far as I had talked to the town manager and Michelle Brown, and they had kind of, it's more of a borrowing of an existing article. So it's not really, you know, the project's already been approved, and we're asking for more money. And I went through it with them anyway, and they were understanding that we have something that there's only one company that's going to work on the aerator. They kind of know that there's only one company that's going to work on it, and they can not charge us whatever they want, but didn't have to be as competitive as maybe they otherwise would have. And you know, I made it clear to them that DEP's made it clear to us that they're kind of holding off on giving us an enforcement order because they know we have this project coming along. So they know DEP's already approved it, and that was part of the reason we needed more money anyway, is because it took us DEP a decent amount of time to approve the project, and everything went up in cost. So you know, they kind of shook their head about it, but I think they realized that we need it and don't really have a choice about it. But there was a little bit of concern as far as if we don't have a special town meeting, what's gonna happen to the price of the project if we have to wait till spring town meeting, you know what I mean? So, they were asking me about that last night as far as how long the bid is good for. What is the standard, Tara? 60 days usually?
It's for the contract,
Yeah.
but we requested an extension already.
Right, I told them that,
Non,
we could, yeah.
non-officially, they have indicated that they'll hold the price to fall.
okay, they'll be very happy to hear that. I knew
Even if there's a special, so the special's not till maybe March at this point.
they're still hoping February. I
Okay, great.
don't, to quote Jerry Seinfeld, I don't see it happening,
Yeah.
but, you never know.
So we're looking at it, I was gonna talk about there, we'll talk about it now, because you're not gonna wanna take that tank offline.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They actually asked that also. They said with the, summer conditions, water restrictions, I said, I don't anticipate by now the work starting before fall.
Yeah.
So,
If we can get a signed contract with the special, because you'll have the money immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
Signed, it'll all be better and long, just in case they decide not to hold the question, but we'll
Yep.
try to get something in writing.
so the 299 South Washington project, I don't know how much you guys remember about that. They'd come before the board asking to connect the abandoned desal
Yeah, I
line at
remember
the
that.
town line to the existing water infrastructure. They had kind of stepped away from the project, and then they sold the property, but they could not get a building permit because they did not have access to water. They had approval to get access to water, but they didn't have access to water. There's no water in front of the property. So they sat down with Frank and I, and we hammered out what we wanted them to do. So they cut in 2 hydrants on the desal line. And then last week they made the connection from the desal line to the end of our active water line. And the gate, and there's a gate there that's off. So today we opened the gate, filled and flushed the line out the hydrant down the end that they had put in, and they're pressure testing and chlorinating it.
And that's close enough to the bill that would qualify with it.
Yeah, they'll, if, as long as it can pass pressure test and chlorination, the property will have access to water. And then the buyer actually decided to hire the person doing the work that's out there now to put the laterals to the property. So, so that's good. Now we effectively have water all the way to the town line, which is, there's nothing really over there right now, but it opens up anything on the opposite side of the road that would want to go in to be able to be built. So,
Wasn't there a property that went in front of us that they were gonna build something there? Was it something else on?
it's probably, well, this one, they're gonna build a warehouse. They're gonna build a warehouse. all the way down there.
This is the one that we, okay.
And they're gonna connect to sewer in Commerce Way, which is private sewer, so it doesn't really concern us. And that's really the newsworthy stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks, John. All right. What do you think? You guys wanna stone wrestle first?
I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, there you go. That's my boy.
So on the sewer side, just an update on the work we were doing with the school department, with the high school and Yale, and getting their sewer connections separated so that they didn't have all that piping underneath the road. They had ARPA monies allocated for that. We were told at the end of November that they had ARPA money and they needed to be under contract by the end of the year. So we got that done. We got a contract out to bid. We did it with a base bid and a couple of alternates for the pump work, because I had concerns we had concerns that they wouldn't have enough in the ARPA authorization to do all the work that needed to get done. And that's on them to come up with the rest of the money. So in the end, We've awarded the base bid, which is just the redirection, basically taking the force main from the high school that currently comes over to the Yell and just tying it into the line that goes out to the street right underneath the tennis courts over at the high school.
Okay.
And then the line from the Yell school used to come that way under the fields and through that line, so they're gonna redirect that up. There's another connection point in the other entrance on the other side of the school. So we awarded the base bid, and we need to work with the schools on coming up with a way, if there's a way we can get the pump work done. Basically, the concern is, so part of the project is to take the septic tanks offline. The pumps that they have aren't set up to handle solids. So if we can't come up with something that they can afford, then they might have to delete the part about abandoning the tanks and still have the solids come out. But they'll at least, their biggest issue was they didn't want any of those pipes under the new fields that they would have to, if anything happens to them, they didn't want to have to deal with it. So that's,
Understood. Understand that.
so we'll see, we're gonna do some, so we signed another contract with them to actually help them use the remainder of the ARPA money. We have another, $30,000 to do some value engineering and see if maybe we can design like a grinder upstream of the pumps, still take the tanks out and grind it. I just don't know if they'll have the money to do any more than what we're doing, if that makes sense, which is unfortunate. I would think they could find the money, but we'll see.
Putting in a muffin list of.
Just, that was,
You familiar with that?
I love it. It's one of my favorites.
You familiar with it?
Yeah.
It's basically a garbage roll clean.
Yeah.
That's all that,
Yep.
it's a brand name.
So that's where we're at with the schools. The work itself won't happen until the summer, school vacation. They just had to be under contract before the end of the year. So the work is still a little ways out for that. And from the other thing they did as part of that is once they, have that taken care of, it'll also clean up any of the the slotted manholes and whatever. So then they'll be able to be billed based on their water records, as opposed to the sewer meters that they're being billed on now. Update on the pump stations. I was talking to John before the meeting. So at Holly Road, they had a second leak on the antifreeze line.
The coolant,
The coolant line. And it sounds like they did come out. They were out there, and as far as we know, that is fixed.
Yeah,
We'll
I'll
monitor
check.
it if it.
Yeah, I'll
it's
check.
still under
Probably by
warranty.
Thursday we'll
So
know,
yeah,
but-
if it's still not, if it continues to leak,
There
We'll
is
get that back out.
still an outstanding issue of the block heater keeps tripping.
Oh, yeah? so we should have more.
So we're gonna, we're gonna have Bruno check it every day, to start, see
Yeah.
what keeps happening with it. And then, if not, I mean, it's a matter of having, it may be, something that, I know they want GFCI everywhere, but you can't have your block heater tripping in however many degree weather. So if it's a matter of that's the issue, might be something that needs to be looked at, but we're gonna monitor it, and if it's still an issue, I'll get back to you on that.
And then over at Cobb Street, that work's been done for a while, and I've actually went into the lower level of the wet well and found that they had left some stuff behind. So the contractor's supposed to be back out there tomorrow. They had to jimmy rig some stuff to get it out of the way while they were doing their work. They never went back down and basically pulled the stuff out.
Nice.
They got a 2x4 holding something up. But they also had to move the dehumidifier, and it can't go back where it was based on the new configuration. So they're gonna remount it in a new location. So that's all covered. They owe you that. So as of today, Mike Bizko said they would be out there tomorrow. So I guess keep an eye out for them. I don't know, they must have-
Mike who?
It's Bizko is the contractor.
Yeah. They're working for us in
Oh,
Mansfield.
are they?
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, they're getting more and more work. Small company, but they
They're pretty
do a
good.
lot of this.
So far, so good
Yeah.
for with us.
They did a good job here,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Yeah, they were fair and they did a decent job. So the big guy Elm Street, is still just sitting there. We did have a Teams call. Steve was on the call with Mike Units and Paul. They're still working with the developer on some form of a TIF, tax increment financing that I have yet to see what it says. or
So
what
at
it
that
looks
meeting,
like.
we raised a whole mess of different questions. They didn't have any of the answers. They claimed that the developer, owed him something, so we said, how about we expedite it and contact them the first week of January so we can, get this thing going, and we haven't, I guess you haven't heard anything, and we haven't heard anything.
I'll follow up again. So, and I copied, all of you guys. I don't know how the protocol on that works, but I just kept all of you on that
Yep.
email
Appreciate
chain
it.
with, so everything's in there as far as an update. We're waiting to hear. So basically, if this is gonna go forward, we gotta find out if they're doing it with a TIF. If they are, with or without a TIF, we gotta go back to the boards, FinCom, Select Board, get their buy-in on a special town meeting to put an article in, because basically the Select Board has to generate the special town meeting, right? So the TIF is first, kind of ironing out the details of what that looks like, getting the board's approval, and then getting the special town meeting scheduled. We basically said we would need the special town meeting by early March, to be able to comfortably meet the timeframes of spending the money.
So we met with them late, December. They said, oh, we're planning on having a special town meeting like the first week of February. I said, that's impossible. Logistically, it's impossible. They don't even have the TIF in place. If they had the TIF in place, maybe, but you gotta have the TIF, you gotta negotiate the terms, you gotta agree with it, you have to have a selectmen's meeting, they have to
Yeah,
approve the TIF,
I mean,
they have to figure out when to put the meeting
it's
on, you have to
still a road
advertise
to
the
hoe.
meeting,
I'm not sold that even with a TIF that the boards are gonna support it. I don't even know if they're on
We
board
need to
with the
know
whole
what the
idea.
terms are, and
They-
If
Yeah.
for some reason this goes on long enough that it ends up not having a special town meeting and goes to spring town meeting, that's too late. We passed it.
We'll lose the grant. then.
We'll lose the grant.
Yeah, you're not gonna build the
So if
project.
it doesn't happen before March, then
So, yeah, I mean, if it's slid into April, there's some, the thing about spending the, MassWorks money is we can front end that. So even if the contract wasn't to be awarded, because it's not gonna be on the Springtown meeting, because there's no article for it. It's already not on the Springtown meeting. So we have to have a special before the annual. But if it ended up being late April and we didn't start construction until the fall, we would just, the first $3.5 million that we spend will get allocated to the grant. We can still do it. It's gotta be, we gotta request all the money before June 30th
Right.
next year.
There's also,
Not this,
yeah,
a year from June.
there's also a possibility that they could have the spring town meeting the same day as the annual town meeting, and the
It's just-
funds would be,
I don't wanna tell them we can
they've
push it
done
to
that.
there.
They've had
If
special
if
town
that's what
meetings
happens,
in the meeting.
it's just,
But it doesn't, they usually, spring town meeting is usually June, right?
I think it's
May.
late May,
Late May.
Well,
mid
late May?
mid to late May.
Yeah, every time.
I'm wondering if if it pushes, if the special town meeting pushes in, maybe it's April and it gets so close, but the select board be like, it's not worth having it because we have to just do it during the spring town meeting. which
Then it's mid-May.
We're out of water.
So one of the big questions was, on the TIF, and I know it's a moot point because there's nothing, we need the money to pay for the project. So it's a matter of whether or not the developer is gonna give us $2.5 million up front, or we have to borrow it.
Right.
And they didn't know, Paul and Mike didn't know. And to me, that's I think it's pretty important to know that.
Yeah, I am curious, or, just wondering who's looking at this. I mean, eventually, council needs to see it. I don't know if they've been involved yet.
I know.
Before the boards are gonna approve it, council needs to
I have
say
to
that.
approve the whole thing to make sure
No.
it's even, written correctly.
Yeah.
You know.
So, we've been at it for a long time. I mean,
We've done,
I
we
mean-
can't do anything more.
I guess I
That's
can't say I'm optimistic, but I haven't given up that it'll happen.
It's out of our hands, unfortunately.
So that's that. We'll see what happens. Peer reviews. I do need to circle back. So Zero Mansfield at the couple meetings ago, they had presented some updated plans with their low pressure option.
And you haven't heard anything more from that.
So no, I did. So we entered into a contract. They sent us the 50% upfront. So we did an initial look at what they had sent us. I prepared an email. I had a conference call with them. Were you and Frank on the call? I don't think you guys could be on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But it's all in an email that I prepared, the concerns and things that needed to be changed. And then like 2 days after the meeting and after I sent the email out, they forwarded the plans and said, here are the updated plans. And I didn't look at them right away. And so I'm like, I'm delinquent on that because John had asked me about it earlier. And then I looked at them on Monday. I'm like, wait a minute, these are the plans I already looked at. So I think what he did is, so he told me when we were meeting, he's like, oh, I've already made a few of those changes that you've asked about. So he sent those. I don't know, because it's been so long, I don't know if they expect that we're reviewing those. Long story short, it's not a big deal. It's still frustrating. They basically want to put in a low pressure sewer, which we've all talked about, and it's downhill the whole way. It's just such a shame. But, you know, as shallow as they're trying to make it, if we went to gravity, I know the low pressure sewer is going to have to go up and down with all the things they're going to run into. They're going to be right, you know, they're going to have conflicts with services coming across. They're constantly going to, and with the low pressure sewer, they can, you know, small diameter, low pressure sewer, they can maneuver around all of that stuff. So it's fine. It's just, and I struggle that all the people along the way, when they do choose to tie in, are going to need a pump.
Yeah.
And they're going to pump into a line that when their pump shuts off, it's just going to flow by gravity down to the end. It is. I think, I mean, that's the solution is sharing the costs. You know, if the town as a whole was prepared for a developer like this, I mean, like the issue is he wants to put this development in and build a sewer. What you guys want to do, consistent with your plan, is, I think, understandably more than they can spend and still make it a viable project. So that's why we've gone back and forth on what they can do. It's just a shame that you can't share, you know, the town isn't ready to just build this sewer and say, okay, instead of, you know, they're ready to kick in 75% of the cost of this. Well, but we're not there.
The planning board had let them keep their original design. I think they would have been a lot more inclined.
We were
Oh,
headed,
bad.
it seemed like we were close, you know, and whatever.
Call that a gravity force main,
That's what it is.
which is an oxymoron, by
Yeah.
the way. So you can quote me on that if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the overrun reservoir. I haven't.
I think
heard
they're
anything recently.
possibly considering a whole new project.
Oh,
The
yeah,
last
on the
I
other
heard.
side.
So
That's what I got.
Yeah, Steve, thank you. Hey, Miss Sarah.
Okay, so just kick off with the aerator. So the benefit would be obviously to get onto the special town meeting, have the money available right away, sign the contracts, be able to start processing shop drawings and have the aerator ready to go sooner than later to start right when we're out of peak demand season. If we wait till regular town meeting, the money's available July 1, that's when you'll be able to sign a contract. Assuming the contractor will hold their bids, we'll try to get that in writing. They have extended 60 days at this point, so we've got until roughly around when we thought the special town meeting would be. And then once we start the shop drawing process, and it's, you know, they got to get it on their schedule, obviously, so sooner the better. If we can cut 3 months out.
How much is this area?
The bids came in around 400, I think. We've got some cleaning of the tank. We're asking for some more cash also to potentially do some repairs in there. If you're going to have your 2 million gallon tank offline, we were originally going to do it in the wet and decided to take it offline, do some serious cleaning of everything, spray down the walls, get some of the grime off. And then also if they find any cracks, do some crack injections, see if we need to. So additional funds are not only, to cover the area project, but some additional work once we get into the design phase of, let's
And is
do a little more.
is the aerator from the United States?
I'm not we don't have shop drawings. I don't know exactly where they're purchasing their equipment, but we have in our standards that it needs to be approved, the Massachusetts approved DEP. So we've got a couple types, and my guess is that they're gonna use the grid beam, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, sorry, then the aerator, so it's an aerator plus we're doing, sorry, the mixing unit too.
Yes.
So it's, we added in the mixer, it was, I think we did it as an alternate last minute, just to kind of see if we could cut prices down. I think it was an additional 10 or 15,000.
So you're gonna do an aerator and a mixer?
So you get, this is your, and this is also your ground storage tank, the 2 million Cottage Street one. So it has to just be approved technologies, but that's
Well, the mixer's can't be much, and there's nothing to those.
no, and major is more bringing power to, a separate cabinet unit, set all that up, drill the core holes through the roof, and then do that work. So, and then, we'll do a very thorough inspection. Well, when DN Tanks gets in there,
There you
they'll
go.
do a thorough inspection of the tank. Give you some idea of, life expectancy, stuff like that, down the road too. So, and while they're on site, we talked a little bit about heading over to the 3 million gallon tank, because that is one of their tanks that was built 20 some years ago, maybe.
Center town?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I don't know who designed it, but you're missing out on the bottom like 4 or 5 feet or so, 6 feet of water. So you got a decent amount of water that's just dead stagnant. So just get them, take a look at that, see what makes sense to do out there. So. Moving on to the aerator, if there's no questions on that. So wells 5 and 6, last night was the Conservation Commission hearing for closing out that project with the wetland filing. Was approved just before I got in the car to drive down here. Printed out, we received it, the certificate of compliance. I just need to double check the conditions. It does say that we just need to continue monitoring. I don't know if John Thomas talked to you about that when you guys were on site to check it all out, but conditions 45 to 49, I just want to double check what those are, but I'm assuming it's just going to be continuing to, you're in the, you're in the wetlands and the riverfront area over there, obviously. So, probably just, standard procedures, and if it's an active site, because you guys are, working over there, just to make sure you're abiding by the normal rules. But we'll file this for you and close out that project. The well 5 pump was pulled a few weeks back. I didn't really get a full, I don't know exactly what happened, but it sounds like it was pulled, put back in service. The motor did fail, and they just replaced the motor, put it back online. So, quick pull and back in, but I don't think, I didn't get a report or anything. I don't know if you guys saw anything.
Honestly, haven't inquired about it in 2 weeks, so
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Stevie, you know what we're talking about?
Number 5?
And it just failed one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so last meeting, Frank had brought it up, and
Is that one of our, that's a newer pump,
it's
right?
the newer one, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we wanted, what I'd like to do is just double, I mean, you're kind of out of the warranty, but on the other hand, what's the issue? And the company itself, are we starting to see this type of pump have other issues or not? So we were hoping to get a little bit more update at some point, but I think I have Frank Sullivan do the work, so we'll see what we can kind of get out of him. I don't know if he sent a report to Frank before.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And
okay.
the motor was an unusual one that we installed, and we replaced it with something more common. Is that correct?
I think that he was planning for that, just in case. That's where I'm not sure what exactly
But anyway,
happened,
the
but
good news
it's
is
back
it's
online.
So that
Yeah.
it was like an emergency, so we just
Yeah.
took appropriate action.
So just trying to, Sullivan's not known for his paperwork, so, and it might have even gone over to Derek, so I'm not sure, but I did get that update, before the meeting. I just we tried to get in touch with them last week, and brief update. The good news was that I figured I'd hear if you guys didn't have it back online, so.
And that was not under warranty?
That's beyond warranty.
It's installed a few years back, 2 years at this point. But it also it was installed by Frank, so for Sullivan. So, yeah, I don't know if it needs to go back to the manufacturer, there is an issue with, I mean, they shouldn't die in 2 years. So,
Yeah.
So we just kind of want to know a little bit more. So that's where I just don't know, a little, you know, the details of
Been
exactly.
struck by
what they're doing.
lightning throwing them.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they got some signaling and, the guys at the treatment plant went out, took some readings on it, seen that, you know, it was reading back, you know, it was failed, motor had failed, and they just wanted to confirm, and Sullivan went out there, checked it, and said, yep, and we gotta pull it, so. And then there was some discussion on, you know, depending on the pricing, you know, how much it would cost, and consider kind of that. That's
6
kind
is
of
the
a-
same setup as 5, right?
It is, yep, it's a slightly different model, I think, but it is the same manufacturer, same motor, same pump.
There's no signs of that, any problems with that one, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's still not. Good news is that it's, you know, it's the time of year that was beneficial and, yeah, so we'll see. So 5 is your biggest, it's 700, rated for 700 gallons a minute. 6 is 600, while 4 is 450. So, getting all those online and fully operational is the goal here. So, I'll talk a little bit about well 4. So we did finish the drilling for that. We're just, you know, fully analyzing this, the SIP analysis, kind of get the screen picked out. Order the screen is the next step. Once we put the full design for that together, all indications are that the soils are really good, ideal conditions out there. So you are rated for 450. Projections are that you'd be able to pump well over that. So, that step is obviously to order the screen, install it, continue to develop the well, be ready for a pumping test, and then, have that data, and then pretty much, we might be able to go out to bid before that if you want to, but we're looking at about 2.5 to 3 months for going out to bid for that project. And then have that fully replaced and put that online hopefully sometime, next year. But yeah, good signs at least for, you know, being able to pump above the bird rate, so. But we'll figure out the full scale pumping test and get those results. That's about a 2-week process, so we'll work with Derek on when that ideal time would be, hoping that we can do it with, it's on the other side, you just need to turn 4 off, so as long as 5 and 6 are looking pretty good, then we should be able to handle that a little bit different than, you had to have 6 offline while we were pumping testing 5, and same vice versa, because they're on the same side of the river, so. Talked about the aerator, and then the only other thing on the list for tonight I have is the South Worcester Street project. We are shut down for the winter. They completed the paving, they sealed up the saw cuts right at Dean Street. I had my inspector go out, looked reasonable, you know, we'll see if it holds through the winter. If there's any concerns on your guys' end, just let us know, but we'll go check it out again. It was just installed, I think it was about either right around Christmas or New Year's, so, probably just send a guy out there another week.
I
or
don't
two.
know who, but the hydrant that was left at the intersection that they haven't done yet,
The bag hydrant, hopefully?
it was bagged and taped, and now the bag's gone. So
Okay,
I don't know what happened there, but there was some questions about that. I also had questions from some people. Do we know when they're gonna permanently pave East Hodges Street?
so there's twofold. There is a temporary trench that's in there now, and then you go to permanent trench, would be the spring, that's under their contract. The full contract, and this is where we were waiting for Jared's quotes to come in, but the intent would be to do full, curb to curb overlay at some point. But I think his bid is, I wanna say, I think he does annual contracts instead of 3 years.
Right.
So he'll probably
Right.
have quotes for starting July 1. is my guess.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were gonna, work on South Worcester Street, I know that the plan was to have Jared's person do it, so it's really just shouldn't conflict with each other, but.
Right.
I've just had questions about it, so.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we can take a look at. They're contractually obligated to do a permanent trench, which is 12-inch cutback on both sides. We are kind of in the shoulder or the edge of the road, and in a lot of places we were able to kind of stick over there. So, we don't like to leave a foot or two edge. But then we can also just see if the temporary trench is holding up pretty well, and kind of wanted, we could possibly pull the temporary the permanent trench out and just go with curb to curb, but that is also ARPA funded, so we just need to double check with town hall and exactly when that all needs to be fully expended, but the hope is that we get that at least paid by the end of 2020.
All right.
And then I do have their pay estimate number 3, for approval. We reviewed this and do recommend payment of $181,650.53 to CC Construction. And that is underlined. Pay estimate number 3. And then we've already previously approved for Frank and John to sign off on these, but wanted to formality of approving the actual cost.
Okay. I make a motion to approve payment estimate number 3 for the South Worcester Street and East Hawes Street project in the amount of $181,650.53 to CC Construction Incorporated.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Tara. All right, we have any, new business at all?
One thing, Steve had brought up a meeting or two ago, I don't remember when, about putting some kind of Dropbox for a bill payment in the new town hall. Since that's done, can we revisit that and maybe make that happen? Discuss it.
I mean, people leave their bills in the Dropbox anyway, and we end up getting them.
There's already a Dropbox?
No, there's not a Dropbox, but they put them in the Dropbox that's there.
I don't understand, there's a Dropbox to put your taxes in?
Yeah, there's a Dropbox for bills at town hall, but they're not water department bills, but they put them in there anyway, and we get them in our interdepartmental mailbox.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So,
All right, well,
They have the option.
that's actually
already.
good enough, that's
Okay.
But-
perfect.
you know, the problem is, you know, I mean, it's also, I mean, not to deflect work, but it makes a lot more work for our office staff when we have to handle the bills. You know, the bills go to a PO box in Reading, I think, and they're taken care of that way.
Right.
Where if they come here, our staff has to then
Stamp them and
get
send them ready?
yes.
So
So
if someone's gonna put them in the Dropbox at the town hall and they can't do that, they would come here and do it.
I will-
They're not gonna
I
mail
will-
it anyway.
So what I'll do is, the person who asked me, I will tell her that. There's only been 1 or 2 people, so I
Yeah.
don't wanna make a big deal about this thing, so we'll just let it sit.
I mean you know, not spending anybody's money by any stretch, but you know, the amount of gas you're spending to go to either of those places, you can put a stamp on an envelope and send it in the mail. I mean,
That's true. Like, there's probably just old school people. who-
yeah, I understand.
So
I
it's not
understand.
gonna talk about any
Yeah.
longer, okay?
Understood.
Hmm.
Thanks.
I'm all set.
All right. So we're looking at February 11th. Does this look good for everybody?
I'd like to consider the change of the March meeting, which is also March 11th.
Calendar on that?
Date,
Yep.
not the 11th, but another.
Okay.
Good, I'm on first week of February, so the 11th works for me.
Okay.
I'll be in Jersey that first week.
Okay.
And we can talk about, if you want the March one, in the February meeting, we can just talk about it then. if you want.
Okay, that's all. We're all gonna be here, right? All right. All right. All right, Jim.
Well, with that, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Aye.